Now, being on the autism spectrum can make getting into work really, really difficult, and many people affected, they can have a brilliant brain, but they struggle in social situations, which make things like a job interview actually quite different and actually quite difficult. But the tide is turning, and more companies are realising the benefits of employing people on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum. So Catherine Trezona from Altogether Autism joins us now. Catherine, great to have you on the program.
Thank you, Duncan. Pleased to be here.
Now, autism, let's start by saying, what is autism so people understand it?
Okay, good question. Autism is to do with a different way of thinking. So it's to do with the way the brain is wired. So it's a really good way of understanding it is to know that it's a difference rather than a difference rather than a disability.
Okay, and can some people, are they brilliant? I mean, is it brilliant? Do you know what I mean? In terms of the mind?
You've described it as an autism spectrum, and that's because we have some people on the spectrum who may have what is called savant abilities. So they might be brilliant, they might have a genius IQ. Other people on the spectrum have an average IQ, and then there are some people who might have an intellectual disability sitting alongside that autism. Right. So anything's possible.
And what about social skills? Do people with autism, and I don't mean this to be a generalisation, but I mean, is there an issue with social skills?
That is typically part of the package of being autistic, yeah.
Okay. So how hard is it for these people to get jobs? So they move into their teenage years, into their 20s and 30s. How difficult is it to get jobs and to live those normal lives? That's
the really big question. So you might have somebody who is highly skilled, highly qualified, but the whole process of being employed is what is the stumbling block. Thinking about an interview, I don't think any of us are actually employed because we're good at having an interview. Nobody's employed to be good at having an employment interview.
Terrible things, aren't they?
Yeah, it's not good for any of us.
Yes.
But yet that is how we assess whether somebody is skilled at a particular job. So if you've got somebody who's anxious about unexpected events, if you've got somebody who isn't great at picking up non-verbal communication skills, if you've got somebody who's not keen on change and something about that interview is different from the way they were prepped, that's not going to be a place where somebody's going to shine as being an ideal candidate.
See, I have a special needs niece, and in the early days, particularly when people would see us, they would cross the road because they didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to patronise us or be nosy or say something to offend. So what is the best way, if you meet someone with autism or a parent with an autistic child, what is the best way to broach it and to talk about it?
One of the things we're really keen to do at Altogether Autism is to increase understanding of autism, because we are apprehensive of things we don't know, and sometimes people who are autistic can look a little bit different. So I guess the very first step is just to have some understanding that just because somebody looks a bit different doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that, and it might be up to us to kind of think, what's going on there? Is that child who looks like they're having a tantrum, are they actually having a meltdown, and is that mum getting them through that the best way they can?
Catherine, what about people who might be in their 20s or 30s that might not have been diagnosed, a family member, for instance, who probably has autism but hasn't actually gone to see anybody about it?
Yeah, so that person may have had a lot of life experiences that haven't been supported. For a lot of adults, and there are a lot of people who haven't been diagnosed, when they're diagnosed, it's suddenly like, that's who I am. That's my identity. Yes. I've found my tribe. It all makes sense. So it can be a real revelation to the person to be diagnosed, rather than thinking I'm broken, I'm wrong, I'm stupid. I'm not. I'm autistic. I think differently, and I've got strengths.
So what does the job market look like? So not only just here in New Zealand, but also overseas. So overseas, are there examples where autistic people are actually employed and looked after? And what about the New Zealand situation, the New Zealand experience? I mean, are our employers any good at this?
Internationally, there is a growing trend talking about neurodiversity, so that's back to the way the brain is wired, as a competitive advantage. And there's been a great article in the Harvard Business Review looking at that, where it's actually not about, I'll do you a favour, I'll hire an autistic person, but actually, I want thought diversity. I want a different way of looking. I want somebody who can be completely focused on the core of our business, and they are embracing the autistic skills. So that's what's happening internationally.
I wonder, though, when will that come here?
Yeah,
so it's about educating our businesses and our leaders, isn't it? Really?
Completely. And our employers. So that's really who I would like to be listening today, is potential employers of autistic talent.
You tell them. You tell them what they can bring. You know, what an autistic person can actually bring into a business, because not everybody can be this extrovert or a salesman or a saleswoman or whatever. Yep. So what could they bring?
Yeah. So if you want somebody who has a special interest in IT, for example, that's a fairly obvious thought, and is skilled at 30+ coding languages. If you want somebody who in their spare time does the stuff they do at work, consider autistic talent. If you want somebody who is completely honest and reliable and will not miss a day and will not be hungover on a Monday morning and leaving early on a Friday.
They sound like the ideal employee.
Completely.
What is there an autistic? Is there someone in the world that is a role model in that area? You know, is there someone that we can say, hey, that person's autistic? Did you know that?
Internationally, there are a lot of people, obviously, who are autistic. Somebody that I think is quite a cute example is Dan Aykroyd. Do you know the comedic actor?
Yes.
And he is on the autism spectrum. And the reason Ghostbusters was born is because he had a special interest in ghosts and solving crimes. So thus Ghostbusters was born from he was the creative genius behind.
Who are you going to call?
Who are you going to call? Call Altogether Autism and learn about autistic employment.
That's a good line. Okay, we better move on. Hey, Catherine, thank you for coming to the program. Really crucial area.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We've all got friends who have sons or daughters in this sort of area, and I wanted to learn more personally.
Excellent. And just know that Altogether Autism is a free information service. So if you want to know anything about autism, jump on our website and say, hey, look, just wondering, what might I do about this?
What's the website? You have a number or? altogetherautism.org.nz. And we've got an 0800 number there that's really easy to find. And we have a whole team of researchers who are ready to take your inquiries about anything at all to do with autism. Brilliant. You will get a lot of reaction to this, I think.
I really hope so.
You will, I promise you. Catherine, thank you so much. Good on you. Doing really great work.